students, and welcome to week 5 in your online general psychology course. This week we are covering chapter 3, which is on the biological foundations of behavior. This chapter will take us through learning about the neuron and neurotransmitters, parts of the nervous system, the endocrine system, and then, of course, the brain. So there is, for all of my A&P, anatomy and physiology students out there, this should be fitting in very closely to what you're learning in that class. So this chapter is so important because we'll start setting the foundation for understanding mental processes, how the brain operates, how the brain communicates with the rest of our body, and how it receives information from our environment, it being the brain. And so this chapter, while it's a lot of information, please know that the rest of the semester we will continue to reinforce the learning that happens here in chapter 3. So let's take a look at this week's module, not model, sorry, I'm all tongue twisted today. I taught all morning. So you have in the module your narrated PowerPoint. I've also done a micro lecture on the neuron. I know the neuron can be a little daunting if it's your first time learning it. So I've pulled out and spent some extra time in this micro lecture explaining the neuron to you. So those are your, and then of course reading chapter 3 in your textbook. Those are to prep you for the assignments coming. So this week, the assignments that you have, all due by Sunday, February 19th, is this first one. Here's a writing exercise. I'm going to come back to it and we'll talk about it here in just a minute. But as far as your Connect assignments, you have 3 chapter 3 Connect assignments, one on brain structure identification, one on the neuron and its interaction with Alzheimer's disease, and then an interactivity assignment on the neuron. So those 3 Connect assignments to help you elaborate and practice with the material you're learning this week. And then, of course, your chapter 3 quiz. So all of those are in Connect, all due by Sunday, February 19th. Let's take a look now at your other assignment for the week, which is the Psychological Perspectives in Depression assignment. I will use this to measure your student learning outcome number 3. So you can read what that is up here. So basically, let me break it down for you. Don't be intimidated by this assignment and look at it and see perspectives and prominent and, famous psychologists and let that worry you that this is a hard assignment. Let's break it down and you'll see that it's very, very doable. So all semester, last 4 weeks, I have been teaching you through your readings and your assignments and the PowerPoints, etc., about the different perspectives in psychology, the different theoretical frameworks, the different paradigms, right? There's a lot of words we can put in there, but they are right here in the bolded letters: biological, evolutionary, psychodynamic, behavioral, cognitive, humanistic, and sociocultural. Those should not be new to you. We spent quite a bit of time in chapter 1 talking about these. And you even had a writing assignment previously where you chose a famous historical psychologist. And most of the ones you chose actually came from these perspectives. So again, just going back to the lenses that we're looking through, right? The theoretical framework. So that's what when I say perspectives down here in question number 1, that's what we're talking about. So you're really just answering these 2 questions. I'm thinking a paragraph minimum for each paragraph for a total of 2 paragraphs, each paragraph being somewhere between 3 and 5 sentences. So this is not a research paper. This is not an essay. This really is as simple as answering these 2 questions here. So just kind of think, okay, I'm going to write a paragraph about question number 1, and I'm going to write a paragraph about question number 2. So number 1, what are the basic beliefs, assumptions, or approaches of the perspective? Name 1 famous psychologist associated with each perspective. So you've kind of almost already done this. You just kind of did it in a focused way on a previous assignment. But here I want you to take these and just give me like a really high level 1 sentence or so about what these perspectives are. What do they believe in? What do they hold their truths to? What is their theory based in? For example, biological. That's pretty self-explanatory, right? They're going to explain human behavior and psychological principles from a biological standpoint. It's going to be all about how the brain and the body operates, and that is what's driving our behavior. If you took something like psychodynamic, now we're getting into Freud's theory of the unconscious mind, that our unconscious thoughts, desires, is what drives our behavior. So you see the difference there. So question number 1, use your textbook, use peer-reviewed articles, use any sources that you want to help you do that. And then just name one famous psychologist that is tied to each of these perspectives. Evolutionary, Darwin, psychodynamic. Hopefully you just caught that I said Freud a while ago. Yeah, I mean, you get the idea, right? Where does someone like B.F. Skinner, hint behavioral, fit in there? So look at those, okay? And just name a psychologist. That's paragraph number 1. Paragraph number 2 is how, of those, pick one of the, and I maybe need to make that a little bit clear here. You're just picking one, okay? You're just picking one that I want you to write about. You can choose from any of these, but just pick one that you're writing about, okay? And then hopefully that's clear. Question number 2 here is, how would that perspective treat depression? So if you went to a psychologist and their training and their background and the perspective that they adhere to is biological, then we could assume that they're going to look at depression through a biological lens, probably through some type of imbalance in hormones or neurotransmitters, and probably treat with medication. Versus if you're going to a neo-Freudian who prescribes to the psychodynamic theory, they're going to use something like dream interpretation, right? Or they're going to use something completely different, a talk therapy, etc. So look at number 1. Tell me, you get to choose which of these do you want to talk about? Which one do you want to give me an example of a psychologist? I've done some of that for you already here. And then question number 2 is, how would they treat depression? Okay, so hopefully that helps you understand this assignment. I encourage you to use your resources. Remember, when you use other people's ideas and works and studies and so forth, that you give credit, and that is by referencing them. Just a couple quick things on APA format. You're actually doing an amazing job with APA format, and we're learning and we're getting better every assignment that you use APA. But just a couple of things that I have had to correct the most is, when you are listing in APA format your references, they're to be listed in alphabetical order. So you're using the author's last name when it's available, and then you can look up, use alpurdue.edu, that website. If you have a source that does not have an author's name, and it will show you what you're supposed to put in that, you still include that in the alphabetical order. So make sure they're listed in alphabetical order. Another thing is that when you're listing them, your first line of your reference is all the way, left margin. And then for any line beyond that, so let's say my citation is 4, that would be a long one, but let's just say it's 4 lines long. My left margin is all the way on the first line, but I'm going to indent 5 spaces for lines 2, 3, and 4. Hopefully that makes sense there. Look at the examples. That stuff matters. Look at what that looks like when you see an example of an APA reference. Another thing is, and I love when you do title it. I'm not asking for a completely separate page, but include your references at the end. And that is what you title them, references. not works cited. Works cited is MLA format. They also need to be double spaced if they're more, if they're more than one line for a reference. So hopefully those little tips help. If you have any questions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Remember, you have 3 Connect assignments plus the quiz plus this written assignment we just went through, which is no bigger of an assignment than answering these 2 questions here. You have an example, some more tips on APA format, and then, of course, the grading rubric right down here. Have a great week, everyone. Take care.